Hey there, this is Therese Skelly, and I am so excited that you are going to be listening to an episode of the Fiercely Brilliant podcast. Do you like those two words? Fiercely Brilliant. My hypothesis is that you are here for a reason. We all are. Our souls have led us on journeys that have very often taken some twists and turns, and sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes there's struggle and there's loss and there's challenge, and in the middle of that, there's always a way out. And it's those times that often lead us into our great life and work. So you're going to hear stories in these episodes of myself and other beautiful people that share the journey. They share how they got to the place where they're standing, working in their brilliance, and being the powerful leaders that they are. So stay tuned and enjoy this episode. This is Therese Skelly with another episode of the Fiercely Brilliant podcast, and you are in for a treat. This year, I'm starting something new. I'm doing what is called Transform with Therese, because you hear me all the time talk about my experiences with my clients, and today we are actually going to see one of those. And so my dear good friend, Christine Wade, has volunteered graciously to be the first up for Transform with Therese. So what's going to happen is you're going to see me in live real time doing a coaching session. I'm going to show you the work I do, because sometimes when you see another person go through it, it's like, holy crap, I have the same thing. Oh my God, I could use that strategy as well. And so that's what these shows are about. So if you are interested in volunteering for a Transform with Therese, just message me and maybe we'll get you on the show as well. So Christine, woohoo, number one, here you are.
Number one.
You're a brave soul, love. You are a brave soul.
Only for you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. And actually for all the hopefully thousands of people listening and watching this, but I really respect people of that, because you're a badass. I know you professionally and personally, and the level of skill you have, holy sweet sister, it's off the charts. And to be willing to come and say, I don't have it all done yet. I still have places that I could use work. I just respect that. And I honor that you're sharing that with us.
Thank you. It's a little scary to go put it out there, but every time I'm around you, I grow. So we're going to go.
We're going to go. Okay. So why don't you tell us what you do today? How do you show up and serve in the world?
So I'm typically called people's best kept secret. I am an operations strategist. People call it an online business manager or a fractional chief of operations. So many terms, but basically it means that I go into people's businesses and I see how they operate, check out their strategies, their procedures, scope of works that they're doing, and find inefficiencies, build ways around those inefficiencies, and boost profits in the long run.
Just that.
Just that.
Just that. And you're kind of a marketing genius whiz as well. And you have two gorgeous puppies that I love seeing, your pitty
puppies. Yes, my babies.
So tell us who you work with specifically, because that's pretty broad and that's a lot. So I know you're shifting. So who are you focusing to work on?
My biggest background is real estate, hence the marketing love. But in the last 3 years, I have shifted to coaches, public speakers, authors, more service-based and heart-based entrepreneurs, so to speak. I also do a lot with brick and mortar businesses who are trying to bridge the gap over to a virtual or, an online world. Mm-hmm. So just because I have both corporate tech experience as well as online virtual for 20 some odd years. Yes, I'm dating myself here. So I just kind of end up in those two realms. So
Awesome. Cool. Very nice. And I want to say this at the outset. So Christine and I have this big love fest going on with each other. And I identify as very woo. She identifies as not so woo. And so it's really fun to have a person to work with like Christine, she stretches me because she's so like grounded, practical. Not that I'm not, but I live in the world of the energy and all the things. And she's more in the like,
you're pulling me in.
I'm pulling you in. I'm bringing you over to our side. But it's kind of, it's like when you work with people that are just like you, it's easy to like, oh yeah, the thing, tap in. And you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. But you do really
Exactly.
well. You do really well hanging out with some of us woo-woo folks. So
I try to keep open.
you have to keep open. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get started. All right.
Okay, let's go.
Here's how this is going to roll. To get the data, basically, I'm using one of Christine's words to get that. So we could analyze the data. Christine took what I created, what's called a Soulful Business Alignment quiz or assessment. Right? And it's just a really quick, like 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. And there are the three pillars I work with: the soul, the self, the strategy. And in each of those, there's different components. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a really quick screen capture. I'm going to show you the assessment really fast. And this gives me a starting point, right? Because what we're going to do, the focus of today is Christine is going to have a breakthrough. Guarantee it. And so what I'm doing is like a diagnostic, like in the areas that I work in, I can always find like, that's where you're out of alignment. That's where you could use a little bit of enhancement, right? So let me show you really quickly the assessment so y'all can see what I'm looking at here. Okay. So basically, we start with the connection to your soul. Do you have a sense of connection to something greater than you? Because I believe that your business has a soul. And Christine's pretty connected to that, right? She understands what she's here for. She has a plan. She receives her guidance. She's doing okay. Then after that, so, okay, are you connected to what you're supposed to do in the world? Then after that is like, okay, cool. How do you do that? What's the marketing? What's the messaging? And Christine is doing pretty well in these areas. She's pretty clear. She knows who she works with. She's got a website that's working, good social media presence. And then part of the strategy also is the mindset and the money piece. And money, she's got good income. She's doing fine. She's got her offers. What? She doesn't quite own her value. So that for me, I'm like, ding, ding, ding. Because, that's like, okay, well, if you can't own your value, we got some problems. And then the fourth one, I have many tools to shift my mindset and regularly use them. And what's kind of funny, if I can share this, Christine said, I didn't understand even what you meant by the tools. So maybe that's on my end. I should have listed some tools. But then when I shared with her what the tools were, Christine, what you said was,
basically, I have an occasional prayer, and that's all I'm going through here.
Yeah, she doesn't have the tools. Okay, all right. Yeah, okay.
I didn't know if you were going to tell me there were some like woo world tools that I needed to shift my mindset, because if so, I didn't have them.
You didn't have
Me and God, baby, it's all I got.
There we go. God is good. God is the best tool there is. And there's some other mental technology. Yes. And then also the next one under self-mastery, I have spiritual or self-care practices that nourish me. So she's also lacking that a little bit, right? So we're going to start with the owning the value and the mindset tools. Then just to finish, it's like how much support. And she's got a lot of support. She's definitely taking care of herself pretty well. Okay, so that's where we are going to start. Got it? Okay. So Christine, I want to hear, like, I know you're working on some new programs. I know you want to create VIP days. Mm-hmm. And so what I want to hear from you is, who are they for and what are you going to accomplish in the VIP day?
Okay, so my VIP days are for small businesses. They've typically been in business for about 2 years, and they're either at that 6-figure mark or very close to that 6-figure mark and multiple 6 figures. Mm-hmm. They've really got to have been in business long enough to know themselves and what's going on in order for me to help them do it better, so to speak. Yeah. And so
So what are they coming to you for? Like, what problems or pain points would they have? And gang, if you're listening, you should be doing this, right? Because what you do is you take an offer and you figure out who it's for and what the problems they solve are. So I want you to watch how I do it with Christine. Okay. So you are not for the newbie babies, beginners. Yes. You are people, because you have to have everything in place, right? So Christine is working with the more solidly financially successful people, but they're coming to you. Why? What are some pain points?
Typically, small business owners tend to start as a solopreneur, or they go ahead and build a corporation, but they're the CEO, but they're the visionaries, and they don't do the implementation. They don't understand necessarily the best ways to get from point A to point B to really make their business flow in the most efficient way. And so that's where somebody like me comes in. And, you know, I've been in so many different industries that I've seen the way that the businesses run and what can make them better, what makes them more efficient. I'm not afraid of technology, but I still like to retain the humanity in the business. Like that's huge, especially for small businesses who started basically as a one-person show usually, and they don't want to lose that. And they hold on to it super tight. So I show them how to plan out their next 90 days. I call it their next quarter, but it doesn't have to be, you know, the first of the quarter, just so that you're always looking 90 days ahead and you have your goals and your milestones to get to.
But what are their pain points? Why would somebody come to you? And it can be tangible or intangible.
Both. Sometimes they're just not meeting the profits, and you know they know that what they're offering is great, but they're not getting it to enough people, or they're not running their team efficiently enough to allow them to fulfill the orders that they do have coming in. So they're not getting to enough people that way. So, you know, the money side can be that. They want to grow their business, but they don't know how. And sometimes they've been winging it this whole time. They go in and they do what they need to do to provide the customer with their end product, but they don't have any of the other structure and infrastructure that will support them and allow them to step out of the business a little bit enough so that they can grow.
So what's the cost? So what I'm hearing is there's money costs. They're either not making the money they could, they're wasting the money, they're wasting their time. What are the pain points of what's the cost to winging it, not knowing how to grow, kind of not working in their lane?
I mean, you typically will have, if you do have any team members, whether it's actual employees or virtual team, you typically have a high turnover rate because you don't have systems in place that support them and allow them to feel confident to do their job, because you're strong arming all the information for your business and you don't want to let any of it go to anybody else. So there's that cost of a high turnover. So you have to keep retraining, or take it back and do it yourself, and then takes your time away when you should be selling your time for more profitable things, obviously, than day to day. And they could be adding extra products to their business or extra services to their business. And if they're not seeing the path to get there, they're not doing that. So they're losing that revenue and, you know, just not growth. Or they're doing things so inefficiently that their overhead costs can be sucking half the money out of their business, or, you know, I look at all of that.
Okay. Give me 3 emotions that they're experiencing when they come to you.
Overwhelm. They're typically, I'm not sure what the word is. They typically think they can't hire anybody competent to do their business. So like disheartenment or something like that with bringing on a team or working with a team, because they haven't set them up for success. So they typically have that feeling too. And then just, I mean, they start to get resentful of their own business, you know. They're put so much into it and they're not getting what they feel like they should get back out of it.
And if we just run this cycle for a while, so you've got this overwhelmed, burned out business owner that has their hands in too many piles. They're not getting the results they want. They're wasting money and spending excess money because they can't do the right things. What do you think their quality of life is? Like, does it affect their relationships? Are they overeating? Are they binge drinking? Or, you know, like what happens on a personal level when people get here?
Honestly, it varies by person to person, but, you know, some tend to actually get depressed. They don't want to get out of bed and deal with their own business anymore. They don't want to deal with their own clients anymore. If it's a service-based entrepreneur, you know, they're maxed out and put up a wall for their own business. I mean, it depends. Yeah, they could have all those things. The overeating, the non-exercising, no self-care in general.
Okay. All right. I want to pause this for a moment. Freeze, Christine. Now, the reason I'm asking, hint, just like play along with me here. So Christine, we just talked earlier, you know, like ideally she will be charging $3,000 for a VIP day. which I think is a tad low personally. But anywho, so because she's starting, this is a new offering for her. So often when you offer something new, you can price it a little bit lower just to kind of test it out. So she's going to be pricing it at $3,000. And so what you need to establish is, okay, here's what I'm going to be asking. What is the value of it actually? And the reason I'm asking, because I could have said, what do you do? And she gave me a good definition. And I said, what's the pain? Oh, they're losing money. They don't have the right people. They're not efficient. And those were kind of out here, right? They were like, I hear it. But as I brought it closer to like, but are they depressed? Are they overwhelmed? Do you see how when you personalize it more, it's more like, shit, that's a problem. As opposed to, oh, you have team turnover. That's kind of out in the, yeah, so you just get somebody else. But when you talk about you have team turnover, so now you don't even freaking trust yourself to hire anybody. And so now you have to add 6 extra hours in your week. And now anybody you do hire, you don't trust that they're going to do it. So now you have to add 3 extra. Like when you take what they're dealing with, the goal is to really pull it into, and what's the cost emotionally? And then what's the cost financially? So there's time, energy, and money. Those are the things, those are the commodities that we all deal in, right? And so Christine, could you just think of a client that fits this profile? Before BC, before Christine, after Christine, or as a result of having Christine. That's very good. How many hours, let's say somebody brings you on or you teach them these things, how many hours do they save? Just guesstimate. I know that's a ballpark thing, but.
Yeah, and so varied depending on the businesses. I mean, it could be numerous because as a business owner, you worry about your business 24/7.
Right.
So even if you're not actively doing something, you know. Well, if I had to ballpark, I'd say anywhere from, I'd say it saves them about a week a quarter.
Okay, that's hard math for me.
Because I do it for the quarter, so
I know. Ah! See, here's where we get into the number problem that Therese's brain doesn't. I'm like,
well, how often do you want it for?
Those are scary numbers. So I was looking at, they save 5 hours a week, they save 3 hours a day. I was looking at more little chunks.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, obviously it depends on everything, but I'd say at least, I'd say 5 to 10 hours a week.
Okay. So 5 to 10 hours a week. All right. So that by the end of the month, that could be 20 to 40 hours, right? Did I get that right? Hours a month. Okay. And let's just say their time is worth low end $300 an hour, right? Low end. That would be $1,200 a month. And a very low end. And what if they're worth 500 or like, you know what I mean? Their time, that's just a low end. Okay. So there's a tangible, like, okay, if you don't do this, you are actively losing very likely minimum of $1,200 and probably higher than that. Would you
their own time?
I'm sorry?
Not including just on their own time.
That's just their own time. Right.
Yeah.
And then there's what you talked about, they can't get their products out. They're losing opportunities. Right. And so imagine if in 1 quarter you could create a new product line or could bring on 3 new clients. Mm-hmm. How much, like, again, estimating that could be worth another $30,000?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And then there's the personal. So we have the time, then we have the energy and the money. So the energy piece of it, so we did the time and the money, the energy piece of it. Imagine if they could get back 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week with less mental gymnastics, right? What's possible? What would their quality of life change? What would be in their world different?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they're a lot nicer to their family and more quality time with their family and kids and loved ones, and just a happier, lighter, lifted.
Yes. So imagine, so I'm gonna sell it to you, right?
Okay, sell it.
I'm gonna sell it, girl. And so I'm gonna say it in a way. So imagine, Christine, that you are a 6-figure plus business owner, and you come to me, and you're this person, right? And so the challenge is, so I'm just going to sell it this way. So I'll say, hey, Christine, I know right now you're feeling really overwhelmed. And I'm hearing from you that the quality of your life has actually been sacrificed because you're kind of resenting your business. You have to think about it all the time. You don't even have time to create anything new. You might have a team, but either they're not working or you haven't given them the right structure, so they're failing. You might have a big turnover. And you might even be a little bit depressed or overwhelmed. Is that right? That's a yes. She's shaking her head. That's a yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So what I want to say now is, what if I could show you in 90 days? So imagine in 90 days, I can show you how to get 5 to 10 hours of your work week back. What would that be like?
That would be wonderful.
Okay. And what if I could show you how we could change such that you're just in your lane? Like, you get to do the brilliance, you get to be the visionary, you get to be creating the things you want to create. You don't have to have your hands in the operations or the accounting or the marketing if you don't want to. What would that make possible for you?
The world.
Okay. Okay. And what if I told you that would only cost you $6,000? What would that be like for you? If you could get back 10 hours a week, a minimum of $1,200 a month, and then you go that for a year, imagine every month you're getting back at least $1,200, $15,000, $3,000, because you are having more time to sell and create and less administrative and that kind of time. What would that be like for you?
That would be amazing.
It only costs $6,000.
I love you, Therese.
So, Christine, my dear,
Yes.
the goal of this Own Your Value exercise is to say, you're not starting with a brand new coach who's never had a client and is only making $2,000 a month.
Right.
You're starting with people who are making over $10,000 a month, multiples of that, $3,000. And I understand you're trying to do the beta version of it. But if you look at the lifetime value of this one intervention, if they had you for 90 days, imagine, because I was very conservative at $300 an hour, because if somebody at that level, they're making 500, 1,000 an hour, they're creating group programs, they're leveraging everything. You literally could say 3 months of this, you could get $100,000. I mean, that wouldn't be a stretch for the work you do. Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
How much?
That's scary, but yes.
Right. Okay. Well, then even half of it, you could say $3,000, I'll get you $50,000. So you should at least be at 10% of that.
Right.
So what would you charge for your VIP day?
Well, you know what I was gonna charge.
I know. That's why I have to we're not even gonna say that number. That is right.
Honestly, that was always my okay to get a lot built up number. But I was dreaming of 5,000, but you went to 6. So now I'm dreaming of 6.
Boom. The thing is, can you own the 6? That's the own your, because anybody can give you a number. Anybody can just pull it out of there and go, oh, that's worth 10, boom. And then the little voices in your head be like, what? But I'm not hearing a lot of resistance around the 6. So.
Well, because I think I already had 5 down the line in my head. So you only bumped me a little.
Okay, hold on. In the beginning, she's like, well, it'll be 1,500 for the first. And I'm like, no.
For sure. Right? Well, I wasn't very confident of it yet, but everything you've been doing in this phone call is making me go, well, yeah. I mean, I kind of thought I'd be stretching to do my 3, but I always kind of sort of had, I wanted to get to 5.
Yeah. But now see, when you break down, because when you say, because everything the way you talked about it, they're visionaries, they don't want to be in operations, that their goals, those aren't grounded. Those are words that just float around. They're we understand them cognitively, but they don't have emotional meaning. But when I literally could say, Christine, you're freaking saving these people. You're saving them $50,000 at a minimum. And you're saving them from burning out, crashing, destroying their families, creating, like who wants to be a client where the person you're hiring resents you? It is really hard to attract people when you're like, God damn it, I got to see them today. That does not work. And so,
yeah, you're putting off the wrong vibe.
Exactly. And we've all been there. I've done it. Like, there's no judgment here, because when you get overwhelmed and when you're a hostage to the business machine that you've built, you're like unconsciously putting the brakes on. And so you come in. And so if you're working with 6-figure business owners, the value that you are able to bring is way more than $3,000. It's probably way more than 5, but we can start at 5 or just start at 6. So tell me what's different with this for you. Tell me what you have gotten out of this.
Honestly, you made me see the value, because when I come from, my clients have always been on a retainer basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I look small at just being able to help many clients, but just little bits,
right?
Because there's only so much of me.
Yes. Yeah.
So the fact that I can now start to dedicate, I've already booked out Wednesdays every day, every week. My Wednesdays are free for VIP days going forward.
Nice.
So the fact that I can dedicate and help a client that much more in a bigger chunk now, and I can, because of your exercise and your assessment, and more so you, the assessment was awesome and it made me think, but more so the way you put things of what's the value in it and how do you really get to the point. You always get all the fluff out of the way. All the fluff in my head goes away when Therese's around, which is funny because I think of her as woo, but she really gets to the.
I'm very grounded.
I know you really get. This is why we're friends, because you do the stuff and you do get some good stuff that way, but you also just manage to get to the center of the stuff of a problem.
Perfect. So, what's your commitment?
I'm going to start at 3,000. And by the first 5 clients, I'm going to be at 5,000.
Okay. And I'm going to open the possibility that might piss you off after the second one. Because you're like, oh, wait.
That was a lot.
Yeah, no. So we're going to put some flex, and it's fine. Like what Christine's doing is totally fine, because on one hand, she's done all this work, but when you do it in a new format, when you package it differently, she's not a newbie to this work. Like this woman's got years of experience. But this package, this wrapper, this container bringing people is new. It's totally fine to start lower. And you're going to be like, yeah, that doesn't feel right, because it has to be aligned. I could give you numbers, but it's either too high or it's too low, and you're like, ugh, either way. So I would rather you stretch a little bit. And so if after the first one, you're like, what the hell am I doing? Are you willing then to just go, yeah, no, I'm just going up.
Yep.
Okay. So if somebody wants to be that first client, get her now, gang, before I talk her into more value. Where do they find you?
If somebody wants to reach out to me about a VIP day, you can go to Christine, CHRISTINE Wade, WADE.co.com/strategy.
Nice. And she's brilliant. And she's so lovely. And she has pit bull puppies. Holy shit. Just go on Facebook.
They're huge.
Pit bull puppies. I know they're, my God, they're giant. They're beautiful. Anyway, so we did it. Like this.
We did it.
This for me is a new format as well. I do this stuff all the time, but to record it and to share it on podcasts, I don't, this is a new forum for me as well. So I think it worked well.
Awesome.
And I'll be playing with this Soulful Business Alignment assessment, because I want to get people. It's just really, it's kind of easy to, yep, that's the problem. There it is, right? Mm-hmm. And you talked about the mindset tools. We can have more conversations around that. That's another conversation.
I need some help there.
I need some help there. Anyway, so I really appreciate y'all watching. Make sure you follow ChristineWade.co. Follow her, and her information will be in the show notes as well. All right, gang, peace and blessings. Bye now. Hey, I really appreciate you listening to that last episode, and I would love to get to know you a little bit more and to get to connect with you on a deeper level. And here's what I suggest. I've got a Facebook group that corresponds with the content of these podcasts. It's called Fiercely Brilliant Women in Business with Therese Skelly. So if you just search Facebook, Fiercely Brilliant with Therese Skelly, you'll find the group. It's a really nice group. It's a small group, and I'm super active in it. Each week, we have a lot of supportive conversations. I share a lot of resources. I do a lot of coaching on the spot, and I would love to have you join me there. So if you like the vibe of this podcast and you want to hang out with a pretty darn cool community of women, join us at Fiercely Brilliant on Facebook with Therese Skelly. Alrighty, peace and blessings, and I hope to see you in the group. Bye now.